The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 3 of the 2022 Fall Chess Classic. As always, my name is Jonathan Schrantz, and I'm happy to be joined here with Miro. We're just going to go ahead. We're going to go with Miro on this one. But I'm glad everybody is here with us. Thank you to everybody watching on Twitch and YouTube. We will be covering this entire, the rest of this tournament here for the day. And first of all, let's just start off at the very top. Let's get to know how some of our competitors are doing, and let's take a look at how we are doing in the A group. Here are the standings. In first, we have a sole leader. We got Vidit Gujrathi on a solid 2 out of 2 points. Can't get any much better than that. And on 1.5 points, we have both Illia Nyzhnyk and Nijat Abasov. We also have quite a lot of the pack still sitting at 1 point. We're talking about Yangyi, Hans Niemann, Grigoriy Oparin, Van Nguyen, Aram Hakobyan, and Nikolas Theodorou. And then unfortunately for Surya Ganguly, still yet to get on the board, but there's still plenty of time. Now, Miro, could you let us know what has been going on in the B group?
Yeah, well, in the B group, we have Raunak Sadhwani and Denis Kadric sharing the lead, both on 2 out of 2, 100%. Only one player, Tigran Harutyunyan, has 50%. And yet, once again, not two boring draws, but he won and then lost.
Exactly.
A lot more results in the B group. While tied for third, we find Christopher Yu and Alex Lenderman. And we also have one player, Arman Mikaelyan, who is yet to score his first half a point.
All right, and we'll be seeing what's going on there, but first let's take a look at our tournament formats. Now for this tournament, there are 2 10-player round robins. Each player will be receiving 90 minutes for the first 40 moves. After that, they will be receiving an additional 30 minutes for the rest of the game, and from move 1, they get that 30-second increment, a tournament that we are very well familiar with at this point. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule of events.
Well, the schedule is pretty straightforward, so each round starts at 1 p.m. except for the last one, which will start a couple hours earlier, because in case of a tiebreak, in case of a playoff, it will be played on the same day at 5 p.m. However, good people in YouTube chat, Twitch chat, or wherever else you're watching us, if you're only here for the show, make sure that you show up 3 hours later, because that's the moment our show starts every day. So 1 p.m. the round's going to start, and we are starting 4 p.m., which I believe is
correct.
now.
And if you do want to join us here on social media, we are live on Twitch and YouTube. We are sitting here, we're reading the chat. Big shout outs to Ian, Patrick, Evan, everybody that's here watching with us today. And if you want to get a hold of us on social media, please use the hashtag FallChessClassic, or you can watch all of the games live on uschesschamps.com. And this is the moment in the show where I am going to let you know that all of the money that we do raise, both on YouTube and Twitch, goes to a really amazing cause. For every $75 that we that we receive from you guys, either through ads on YouTube or from subs, bits, donations that go through on Twitch, for every $75, a kid will be receiving programming for their school. So thank you to everybody that has been giving all throughout the show. Now let's go ahead and jump into our pairings for A group. In the A group, we got Surya Ganguly going up against Grigoriy Oparin today. Nikolas Theodorou is going up against Illia Nyzhnyk. Aram Hakobyan is going up against Vidit Gujrathi. Van Nguyen is going up against Nijat Abasov. And our game of the day is the game between Yangyi and Hans Niemann. And you know what? Every time you come up, always the first comment in the chat is, hey, what's going on with the Hans Niemann game? So we got it for you, and we're going to bring you all of the action now.
All right, let's find out if there is a lot of the action left, right? So
yes, let's see.
We're gathering in the studio, obviously, roughly half an hour before the show, and it looked like a very promising position back then, but now it sort of peters out a little bit. So last couple of moves being F3, Knight G3, and you already can see the potential for further exchanges. Let's watch this one from the very beginning, perhaps?
Yes, let's always take it from
just
the top,
quickly.
just so we get kind of an idea of what we got going on.
Hans, well, I think he has done the same against one Magnus Carlsen.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of Nimzos.
Yeah.
This is the Nimzo Indian, of course.
So bishop to G5, C5, D5, H6. That's a tricky one. I never know when exactly do you play H6 in such position. Maybe Hans knows. So
I would hope
H6,
so.
yeah. Bishop H4, D6, E3. He trades. And now it looks more like a, the Benoni structure with the bishop, which forgotten to be, usually the bishop is here in the Benoni, but yeah, Hans has it on b4, which might be not a bad thing. Knight to d7, queen a5, and Yangyi went to sacrifice a pawn this way. So simply disregarding that the pawn can be taken, and it was c4, knight to d2. Well, perhaps White just wants to play some sort of e4, f4, and that's actually what happened in the game, right? e4,
right,
bishop b7. Well, knight to b1. That's Karpovian ideas we are talking about. Yeah, the knight on d2 is not great, so let's bring it to c3. a6, a4, stopping b5. Not really, says Hans. yeah.
Anyway.
b5. So trade it over here. c4. Well, maybe this b5 actually kind of forces the simplifications. So b5, you can't really, well, at least if you trust Hans's calculation, you can't really take with the c pawn and the bishop because e4 will be hanging, right? So that's why he captures with the pawn twice. c4, once again, black is not even threatening to take on d3, but you got to play the move, right? And knight c3, the move you've intended, would actually shut this file and hang a bishop. So therefore, queen takes, bishop takes. Then g5 perhaps is a very important move because you want to force the bishop on g3 so that after knight e4, well, the bishop will be traded for a knight and White no longer going to have two bishops advantage. So f3, knight takes, rook e8 intermediate. Well, okay, that's interesting. Why would you want to swap? But okay, Yangyi has his reasons. H takes g3, d5, that's the current position on the board.
All right.
Still some play, there is a feeling, and I want to say like structure-wise, if you only look at where the pawns are, and if you imagine, say, the knight getting, you can't really get it there on lichess, okay, it'll need a few moves, but yeah, if it eventually gets on d4, I would reckon White is quite a bit better.
Okay.
So it's like got a good structure, but dynamic kind of doesn't work for White, it seems, because now e2 is not a square for the bishop, right? After bishop d3, black jumps knight c5, d4, and so on. So I'm actually somewhat worried for Yangyi here. He might not even have the equal position. He might be in a bit of a trouble now that I'm thinking.
So if anyone is in trouble here, you think it's Yangyi, like maybe Hans Niemann might be able to get some sort of advantage.
Yeah, well, yeah, looks somewhat promising for Hans. Yeah, but that's once again, it's sort of an immediate action, right? So it's very dynamic. If he has something, he has to have something right now.
Wonderful. So yeah, we'll definitely be keeping our eye on this one as this game progresses. But let's also see what's going on in the B group. We have a lot going on there, and here are our pairings for today. We got Christopher Yu going up against Cristian Chirila. Raunak Sadhwani is going up against Tigran Harutyunyan. Denis Kadric is going up against Brandon Jacobson. Alex Lenderman has White against Arman Mikaelyan. And Gergely Kantor has White against Akshat in our game of the day. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what's going on with this one. I believe it started with a Grunfeld, but that's about all I know of this one.
Oh, no, not really. I mean, it does look, but if you think of Grunfeld, the pawn has to be on g6, right?
I apologize for everything.
So
I
that's
looked way too quickly.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like looking at the structure, right? I mean that would be my first guess. But no,
how did this happen?
That was semi-Tarrasch.
Okay. So, again, this is like. You could almost predict without seeing the game that every game's a semi-Tarrasch. We've seen quite a few of these in this tournament.
Yes, very often it will be the same, kind of the same structure. So White eventually ends up playing e5, as he will in our game as well. Well, yeah, bishop c4, knight to d7. Once upon a time, this position, which is clearly kind of the key position for the semi-Tarrasch, if you allow bishop b4 and so on, and people were discussing, I mean, like White has a few moves, bishop d3, bishop c4, can start with rook c1, something is more clever than the other, and Black was supposed to react in like different fashions. So for this move, you play this move. Now, I mean, you open the engine, I mean, you run it, and it says,
Black can
doesn't
do
matter,
whatever.
B6,
Literally
bishop
doesn't
B7,
matter.
knight D7, in whatever order
Yeah.
you like, set up the same thing, and it's equal.
Yeah, that's always the way it is, isn't it? Yeah, just do whatever.
So
It's all
B6,
fine.
bishop B7, yeah. No, but I still, I remember, like, one of the plans would be I'm moving the A pawn to create a weakness on the queen side, and you know what?
Yep.
On most of the cases, A4, according to engine, is met with A5. I mean,
Yeah,
weak
just whatever,
squares.
who cares?
You know, B6 weak. No.
One kind of trend that I've noticed just with this tournament in particular too is when we get a position like this where, at least you can correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like either white gets some advantage with some sort of big attack, or in sort of like the end game somehow black will end up with like the better pawn structure. I feel like this is something that we've seen occurring in multiple games, multiple different kinds of pawn structures, but it seems like in this tournament in particular, whoever is trying to attack doesn't get there. The defender
yeah.
gets the better end game and has all of the chances to win these games. Is that what we might see here, or?
Yeah, look, so far we haven't seen a game where, let's say, someone went for an attack and was
Yeah.
successful. Well, perhaps Abasov, we could say, in the first round, but he was kind of forced to, right? His opponent went to take his rook, so he was forced to attack. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a triumph of positional chess, that one. E5. Yeah, well, okay, when do you play E5 if not now, right? E5 and black.
what?
Ah, that's lovely. So
Wait.
I just realized E5, knight D5. I was thinking, okay, where was he planning to go with the queen? He was
That's
planning.
brilliant.
He was
Hey,
planning
this
to
is
take on
amazing.
H7. I'm guessing.
Wow.
I'm guessing he was planning to take on H7,
Great
and then
gift.
I guess queen. Or am I talking nonsense? Yeah, I do. That's a very common blunder
The great
against
gift
bishop
sacrifice.
H7
It's
sacrifice.
won many games. Ah, no.
So
no.
there've been instances people would blunder this, like this diagonal.
I
Sometimes
don't
it'd
even
be,
have rook e4. No.
yeah, sometimes it'd be bishop to D3 and so on. So I was making a case for why H7 H6 is such a clever move.
That's brilliant too. Yeah. That really
Why
is nice.
H7 H6 is a clever move, and I thought, yeah, it might have been that you move the knight and he gets, but no, apparently not. Anyway, H6 was played. White goes with H4. Black ends up playing knight D5 nevertheless. Queen E4 threatens the checkmate, but you can go back. Queen F4 and go back. And white, thank you very much, Gergely, decided not to repeat. Because we've seen a couple of times where people would
most
just
people seem happy to get those early
repeat
draws, but-
on first occasion. Yeah, knight to C3, rook D2, rook F to D8, knight H2. Oh, okay, so moving the knight. Some queen, nah. That's the problem, I think, for white, that you kind of don't have the comfortable square for the king. I mean, obviously, for the queen, sorry. So after knight H2, perhaps it's clear that the knight wants to go to G4 and be sacrificed somewhere. Queen E7, and no, I was wrong. Knight F1, knight G3, okay, makes sense. Yeah, goes to H5. For a change, it might be the game where black is not that comfortable.
Already,
The white's attack, so probably the queen will need to defend the G7.
Despite that, I need
Say
to
knight H5.
This has been the constant struggle. You know, as somebody that I guess kind of admires the romantic games where attacking just seemed to work, we haven't seen a lot of it work out yet. So in my book, I'm kind of rooting for some sort of nice attack to actually work.
Yeah, well, but that's what commentators always do,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's nice, it's entertaining, makes your working day shorter. I mean, nice attack,
It's good for
25
every
moves, rook
reason.
sacrifice.
Fans
yeah.
love it. You guys love it. We love it. Everyone's happy with the nice attack when it actually works. And we do have a game where somebody was actually able to win. So if you don't mind, the Christopher Yu game, I believe, has come to its conclusion.
Christian.
As long as he wasn't playing our fellow commentator Cristian Chirila, we'll have nothing to cry about on this one. But let's check out what happened in that game.
23 moves only. I don't know if we will get an interview with Christopher
He might have won too
later on. Yeah. Was it even allowed? When they say no draw offers before move 40,
are you allowed to resign?
Should there be a rule like, okay, you're not allowed to resign, or you're not allowed to win before move 25?
It
I don't
actually
know.
could change things because there'd be situations where people want to resign, but they would have somehow won that game.
Yeah.
It could actually influence everything.
So far, it doesn't look like a disaster for black. So
right.
D4, bishop D7. I'm afraid this game would involve some sort of a blunder. Okay, so far nothing too dramatic, but maybe white does slowly get somewhere. 94, 95. a check on f6. Well, king h8, queen e4.
Okay, queen's coming over.
And I don't know why it's so bad, but apparently king h8 was the last mistake. And if king h8 is mistaken, you have to take the knight. You guess the position is terrible. Yeah, but after king h8, queen e4, computer is merciless, says, yeah, okay. White's completely winning. So perhaps you just cannot really kind of get rid of this knight. So h6 always met with queen h4, right? And you're forced to go h5. Okay, so Cristian went rook b8, traded here, f4, pushing the knight away as well, h6. So got engaged in those tactical sequences. No tactical sequence, the bishop's hanging.
Oof.
Yeah, very quick win for Christopher Yu, who is on 2.5 out of 3.
All right, and I believe we also have another game that has finished. If we can take a quick look at Ganguly and Oparin.
Ganguly and Oparin,
I think right before we get to this one too, we might actually have an interview with Christopher Yu that we can take a listen to. Last time, this was one of our best interviews of all time, so let's see what we get from Christopher today.
Alrighty, I am here with Christopher Yu, fresh off his win against Cristian Chirila, now putting you at 2.5 points. Christopher, you're having a great tournament, man. Tell me how it happened. Tell me what's going on in your game, man.
I'm feeling great, and I was looking forward to my game today against Cristian Chirila, as he's one of the people's favorite commentators. And that generally commentates tournaments, but I was excited to play him. And I before the tournament, I saw he only played the Grunfeld, but in this tournament, I just wanted he did something different on move 1 that he never did before. So it seems like he was trying to vary his openings. I thought that was interesting. But I was still hoping that he'd go into my Grunfeld preparation, but unfortunately for me, he didn't go into it. So I was already frustrated on move 2 when I saw he went c5 against c4. And I realized that I didn't have that much preparation already. Like, it's just horrible preparation from me. And I was already making things up. Knight c3, d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, g3. I didn't know some of the theory here. Like, I knew this was like a mainline position, but it wasn't something I looked at much before the game. And after g6, I was already trying to make something up. So I decided to go queen b3. I wanted to provoke him to push his e-pawn because it blocks his c8 bishop. So that's what he did. And now I went d3. So my point was to go bishop g5 and kind of annoy his queen a little bit, maybe provoke him to push his pawn. And I just wanted to like provoke some weaknesses, because I felt like I needed to keep playing like forceful moves to justify this weird looking queen b3. Bishop g5. Now he went queen b6. And I think the queen is extremely awkwardly placed on b6 because he can never push his b-pawn, so it's kind of blocking him. So I think he should have went queen d7. Queen d7 is an even weirder looking move, to be honest, because it looks like it blocks your bishop, and it looks like you're putting your queen on a square that you should generally put your knight on. But the point is kind of to push the pawn, the b-pawn, to go bishop b7. And once you get this setup, black looks pretty solid because I have no concrete way to exploit this. But instead he went here, and now I go queen c2. Knight c6, bishop g2, castles, castles. And here I was feeling pretty solid about my position, but I still thought that we were going to play a pretty long chess game because there's nothing that's that convincing or that stands out about my position, and it looks like he can get all his pieces developed, but it's actually harder than I even thought for him to coordinate his pieces here. So he takes, and here I think queen c7 was not a good move because after d4 I get this space advantage. I'm pretty so I think he should have went like queen a5, because now if I take, he can take, and he's much better. d4. And now it's kind of funny, but we kind of transpose into a position that looks like a Grunfeld. So he decided to not play his regular opening, but it's pretty ironic that it ended up getting into a position that looks exactly like a Grunfeld anyways. But I don't think it's a good Grunfeld either. So it's just a very unfortunate day for him. What can I say? Bishop d7, rook ap1. So now b6. So this is like a typical Grunfeld move, trying to solidify your pawn, but his pieces are somehow weirdly coordinated after takes knight d2. For some reason, it's just really hard to coordinate his pieces here. I think because like I don't even know how to explain it. All his pieces look fine, but he can't coordinate them. It's just really unlucky, because like all his pieces look ideally placed, honestly, and somehow it's just a bad position. I don't even know what to say. Rook a b8, knight e4, knight e5, knight f6 check, king h8. Yeah, and this was kind of bizarre. He like immediately played king h8. Like he had no fear of my attack with my knight on f6, bishop on g5. He was like, yeah, who cares? I'm not getting mated today. But I think he kind of underestimated my next move, which was queen e4. And after he saw this move, he already the look on his face, he already knew that this was probably game over, and I think he probably overlooked this move, since he can't really do anything about queen h4. So he tried to like it was a desperate last attempt to try to trade the pieces. But after my move f4, I'm just winning a piece by force. And he spent a good 15 minutes here trying to somehow come up with something, but there's simply nothing. So after going h6 takes, he resigned because if I take the bishop, and I'm just up a piece for nothing. So overall, it's a pretty nice game. I definitely did not expect to win this quickly against a GM, but I'm pretty happy to get this fortunate win. But tomorrow is gonna be an extremely difficult game, as I'm playing Raunak Sadhwani. So I'm gonna have to sweat extra hard there. I'm gonna have to drink some Gatorade. I need to drink Red Bull, energy drinks, everything. Because that's gonna be a new kind of sweat that I need.
Well, we hope that we wish you the best of luck in that game. 2.5 out of 3 is an amazing score, obviously, going into the 4th round. We wish you the best of luck, Christopher.
Thank you.
Win in a row today, beating Cristian Chirila in only 23 moves, and it's really excellent to have him. His interviews are always fantastic to watch. Caller popped up, easily taking down somebody in only a few moves, and I think I know the secret to his success. You might not know this, but, well, you might actually know this, but they don't know this. Christopher, he was seen after his game yesterday. He won yesterday, and where was he after it? He was at the club. He was hanging out. He was just playing blitz, hanging out with the usual folk. I don't know if that's the right tournament strategy, but it sure looks like it paid off here today.
Works for him.
Excellent.
So you would think he only won 2 games against Grandmaster, but I got crushed in blitz yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, by Christopher as well?
By Christopher,
oh,
yeah.
No.
So
yeah, he's tough.
he's on the top of a leaderboard.
Very wonderful. And if we can actually take a look, if we can jump over to the game between Hakobyan and Vidit, I believe we have a result in that game as well.
We do have 2 results already, yes.
All right, so we have a lot of catch-up work here to do.
Yeah, let's start with Hakobyan and Vidit. Once again, I don't remember we did not check this one. I mean, it's like every Nimzo is a different Nimzo, right? So d5 trades knight e2. Yep. I was even wondering why it doesn't say knight g to e2, but one knight is pinned. Miro, wake up, yeah?
Yeah.
d6, bishop d2, Yeah, knight f4. Yeah, that's interesting because I think this line had seen some play for sure. I mean, on a like very top level.
What else?
Easily
other
getting
plans?
confused like with the knight on f3 and e2 because it is somewhat somewhat different. Anyway, knight f4, and I don't think people usually take.
Yeah, taking
interestingly
is a
enough.
very interesting idea.
So he just captures and says, yeah, I don't care about your two bishops. I just go c5, I play for initiative.
Sure.
Okay, trades, rook e1, bishop a6. Maybe
No
bishop
more
a6.
two bishops potentially
yeah.
after this.
That's what his point was. Well, that's interesting. Anyway, queen d7, rook e1. Whoa, knight
there
to
we go.
d5.
Oh, you thought we were just going to swap it all off? Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Knight takes d5.
Knight takes d5, so knight takes queen takes, it means, right? Knight c6, but...
I was kind of relying on a back rank issue there too, this tactic.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, like the knight takes, queen takes.
Boom.
And then rook
If
e8,
you take,
checkmate.
there's a checkmate on the back rank.
And black thought, yeah, but I just gave knight c6. Not really, knight e7, it doesn't end here.
Oh boy.
Check, well, perhaps he has to take because, well, he actually could go king h8, but it's an extra pawn for white, I imagine. I don't know, bishop
Wild.
e4, but yeah, like these guys, they apparently found something. I don't want to look. Anyway, so knight takes, rook is gone with a check, knight c8, black gets it's a bishop in two knights for now, but a bishop in a knight in a couple of moves. Oh, bishop c6, intermezzo.
Oh.
These guys love intermezzos, right? And gf6. So what's the material? Everything's say rook and a pawn. I was told worth 6 pawns.
Yeah,
same as knight and
That's the math I was taught as well.
yeah. Same as knight and the bishop. So well, it's roughly equal on material. Black is somewhat
On structure
passive.
though?
Somewhat passive for now with the knight on c8, but somehow he...
Okay.
So check king f8, not a repetition yet. So he went queen
Okay.
f4, queen d5, f3, king g7, and somehow possibly was like a little bit low on time, but yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, and they decided
That's
to
what
end
happened.
it
So,
here.
well, perhaps
Interesting.
if you just play a move like black also can like go knight d6. If black ever gets it to e5, he has no worries whatsoever, and possibly might think of playing for a win.
All right, so that's another half point for each for Vidit and Hakobyan. And I also do believe that there was one more game. I think it's the Ganguly Oparin game.
Ganguly
We've kind
and
of teased
Oparin.
it. We're going to actually show you what happened in that one.
Right, but still, while we are still with this one, congrats to Hakobyan because he's the first man to score something against Vidit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
Vidit
Vidit's been tearing it up. So
was
wonderful,
finally
yeah.
held for a draw. I mean, that's what I mean.
Well done.
Yeah. Okay, Ganguly against Oparin. Speaking of semi-tarashes, here's another one.
All right.
And e3, knight c6. Remember
This
just when-
E3 line, it's popular now, huh?
Yeah,
Is this
and
what's
we
cool?
we were discussing like black could play a6. We had
Yes,
one
we saw
game
this
like
one.
this, and then you don't know really like, do you play with the isolated pawn or give him a chance to play with the
Sure.
isolated pawn? No, here black goes knight c6, and then white goes a3.
Oh,
so
it's the
I'm
same.
confused. I'm confused. Okay, so here black decided to take, go a6, castles, b5, bishop b7. So nobody is playing with the isolated pawn because queen e2, cd4, rook to d1.
All
So
right.
he pins
Nice
and
little trick to get the
apparently
pawn back.
plans to take it back.
Oh, take one of those.
b4. What's going on? Pardon me, because the next move in the text is e takes d4. So I mean,
Sacrificing a knight.
if you wanted to take on d4 with the pawn anyway, why would you play rook d1? And the answer is if and when black captures on c3, that's text in the game, white goes d5. And if you move the
happening
knight,
here?
it's like d6, and it's a disaster, right? So no choice but to
Wow, and
give the piece back. Rook takes d5. Well, very active. Rook d3.
Actually, pretty impressive
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Just
that's
these early
probably-
tactics are really nice.
Might have been a preparation because those moves, like, it's move 15, and we've seen quite a lot already, right? So bishop e7, rook takes c3. So black didn't take on b2. which probably is very dangerous, right? Because then bishop e7 would mean g7 is
Definitely.
hanging. Okay, so he uses this time to finish the development. Bishop e3, rook c8, bishop f6, queen b8, and somehow black consolidates.
And just to update the chat, despite some concerns that maybe there was some sort of technical issue, no, this is it. This is what really happened in this game.
So h7, h6. Technical issue.
Yes.
This b4, d5 thing. Yeah, like white losing a piece now. There was one technical issue, I believe. I know what the chat is talking about. It's the very end. Okay, I'm skipping it over, but I believe like with opposite colored bishops, and not much white can do. Okay, so he just traded everything, went queen c5, and this is, of course, a draw on such a level. And the technical issue
what are they on about?
people talking about is this last move.
Yes, this is a very common occurrence. What happened here, Miro? Did the kings actually touch each other?
Not really. So I believe bishop b6 was move 40. That's the move that you are allowed to agree a draw. And since they're playing on a digital board, and well, it's actually very nice that we have the moves. Since they are playing on digital board, in order to kind of tell the digital board that the game's over, you have to arrange the kings in a center in a specific way. Both kings on light squares, meaning white has won, both kings on dark squares, meaning black has won. And here, the arbiter perhaps put the king on e4 and king on e5.
Yeah, so one king on each of the same different colors means that it's a draw. The arbiter comes over and decides to record the official results. So fantastic there. Now,
so two draws here.
We haven't really had a time to just kind of go around the horn and see what else is going on. We still have quite a lot. Is there anything that has your attention?
Illia Nyzhnyk.
Let's take a look and see how he's doing
against Nikolas Theodorou.
We have Chess Weeb in the house. He's looking to see what his partner in crime, Illia Nyzhnyk, is up to. So maybe this is a good one to check out.
Oh yeah, Illia is down pawn, but he will get it back, I suppose. Well, not guaranteed, right? So the bishop's hanging, the pawn's hanging. There've been quite a few things happening in this game, so might as well just look at it.
Yeah, let's see. How did we get here?
Once again, looks like opposite castles, or even black did not castle at all, so I would think that could have been some Sicilian Najdorf. No.
I never would have guessed Najdorf.
Nobody is playing Sicilian
Speak
Najdorf
for yourself.
nowadays.
Never would have guessed Najdorf.
Knight f3. My reasoning is like, it's very rare that after one d4 you castle long.
Very true.
It's not very often, right?
Yeah, how did this happen?
Slav, this specific line of Slav was bishop e4, and recently had a chat with someone. So I would play. Yeah, someone told me that I would play this Slav like every game they allow me with white, this line, if not for bishop e4. So the moves are bishop e4 or bishop g6.
Just because it's forcing like maybe f3 and then things are a little bit
after
harder
bishop
to develop?
g6, white usually takes, and I mean it's a very pleasant position. There is not much, but I mean you can play g3, queen e2, bishop g2, so kind of enjoying two bishops and stuff. Yeah, after bishop e4, in order to play for something, you have to go f3. And then when you eventually take this bishop, that's what happened in the game. Yeah, it's not that comfortable. It might be even more promising for white because you have chances to play e4 and so on, but you cannot play kind of solid positional game.
Interesting.
Queen c2, castles long. Okay, that's not what you call not what you call solid positional game, right? b5, c5 after a6. Interesting. c5, b6, knight a4, king b1. c5 perhaps being not the most popular move, or at least according to my knowledge. And black castles, yeah, and that's usually, I mean, kind of first understanding always was that after you take on g6, it's very hard for black to castle because, you know, doubled pawns, h4, h5, opens the file very quickly. But the reality is that black does all he's supposed to do on the queen side, and he only castles when white's never on time, basically.
Correct.
Right? I mean, the b file's already open, c5 will be played anytime soon, so, well, white actually does make an attempt.
All right.
g4, rook c8, g5, knight e8, as simple as that. And after e4 goes c5, well, everything's hanging. E takes, c d4, queen b3, and yeah, perhaps black has to trade those queens. It's actually a very annoying position now that I see it. After this capture, I
What's bugging
guess
you?
bishop h3 is what he didn't like.
Okay.
Because now it's a funny position. So the knight is pinned, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter which rook you
Either
protect
way,
it
there's
with.
a little tactic at the
yeah,
end.
yeah, the bishop's gonna take, and knight b6 gonna
And no
happen.
matter what, you're running into a fork.
Yeah. Well, however, there is f5 technically, and then after pawn takes, you can take with this knight, and at least for now, you keep everything guarded. Once again, Irish pawns, mutual Irish pawn structure. So everyone has all their pawns isolated. I don't know how this would, what assessment that would be. But Illia decided otherwise. So he went with knight to c7 in the game. f4, knight c5. How did he ended up being down a pawn? Bishop c4, rook b8. Well, apparently a lot of stuff happening in the time trouble. Here I do start to believe white has better prospects. b4, knight a4, bishop to b3. Probably cannot do much. So knight b6, f5. And this is annoying. So f5, if you take, it's g6. And
Interesting. Yeah, very nice.
yeah, so that's why kind of light square bishop is an important piece in this line.
Now went
Captures over here, knight d2, rook d2. Oh well, it goes
was-
on.
yeah,
Bishop
okay.
b4. That's still not the end. ef7, king
Yeah.
to f8. Okay, you have to.
Okay.
And
Now what d3?
rook e8.
So I
Otherwise,
think we'll take bishop g5 and kind of annoy the queen a little bit, maybe provoke
really
it.
was, yeah, so rook e8, captured, rook takes d4, bishop to e7, bishop a4 check was played.
A little bit,
well,
maybe
for
provoke him to
good
push his
reason.
pawn.
King to
I just
e7,
want to look for
rook
some
f4,
weaknesses.
well, more checks.
I feel like I did
For some
keep
reason,
playing
I
like forceful
still
moves to
think
justify just
we got
looking queen
to
b3.
draw,
Because
because
opposite colored
g5.
bishops, just one
And now
rook.
rook queen
rook
b6.
b4 is
I think the queen is extremely awkwardly placed on b6 because he can never push the b-pawn, so it's kind of blocking him.
Before, maybe.
So basically, you should have queen e7. Queen 7 is an even weirder looking move, to be honest. 'Cause it looks like you walk your bishop, and it looks like you're putting
So we're
queen
kind
on
of
square
expecting
you
this
generally
one
put
to
your
head
knight on.
towards a peaceful
The point is how you
conclusion,
have to
perhaps.
b-pawn,
That's
go
what's
b7.
going on in the game between
And once you
Nikolas
get set up,
Theodorou
weapons
and
speed out
Illia
because
Nyzhnyk.
I have no
Is there
country way to
anything
avoid
else
this.
to talk about
If
here,
I
or
went
is there
here,
something
I
else
can
worth
see
looking at?
Knight c6,
well,
bishop
let's
2,
move
castle,
on.
castle.
Well, let's once again check.
He probably was
the
pretty pleased out about my position, but I still thought that we were going to play the long chess game because
We've gotten to...
Oh, quite a lot has happened. They've traded
Yeah.
down
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
significantly here.
So what we've seen was f3, trade on g3, trade on e8 intermediate, rook to d1. So
And we left it
this
around
is-
here, and we weren't sure if Black was going to somehow find a way to
Yeah.
get a little tiny initiative or get some sort of pull.
Yeah, but
there.
I've missed the very next move by you, Yangyi. The rook
But
d1
rook
the rook
D1
d1 is a clever move because otherwise, there is no comfortable square for the bishop, but he goes rook d1, and now bishop can run away to f1. That's why it was taken.
Oh, yeah.
And
All
captures here, and this is how Black has won a
ah,
pawn. So
yes.
he first takes, then gives a check.
Okay. A nice,
Oops.
a nice spot to
pardon.
kind of pick up one pawn there, although we can see the resulting position is
Yeah.
maybe a lot closer to a draw than anything else. But
Right.
on
rook
Zeman's
to
up a
c7
pawn.
takes, yeah.
You know?
So and here we are. So they've played.
What
is
what
it?
percentage of a time can a grandmaster win this with Black?
Against,
Against-
other grandmasters?
Yeah, we're talking about 2,700 exactly players.
None.
0%?
I
It's
wanna
100%
say,
draw?
well,
Okay.
you have to give us that there is no such thing as 0%. So
Okay, so we're definitely expecting this one to be a draw. But if we can head on over to the B group and check out how
yeah.
Alex Lenderman is doing, I believe we have a result in that
Lenderman
game.
has won as
All
well.
right.
Okay.
Congratulations to Lenderman. What happened in this game? We haven't taken a look
Let's
here
check.
yet.
So Lenderman, he equals in points with. I know he doesn't. There's still one of the guys playing. Yeah, but Lenderman is
Yeah.
2.5 out of
Yeah,
3.
he's
Right.
off to
so,
a fantastic start as well.
That's a good score anyway. It's funny to see engine, comments to this game because G6 is it says
very inaccurate.
dubious
Yeah.
move and white
Sure.
is much better, right? Anyway, all right. So a King's Indian with some transposition of
Sure
moves.
thing.
E5 castles, E d4. And that's a modern and, if you ask me, a very sad way of playing the King's Indian because I mean, of course, this good old romantic times when
Yeah.
the knight goes to E7 and white.
Yep.
Moves everything up on the queen side.
We see one player, we see Black trying to checkmate the other player. But, okay.
So ED4.
These can be kind of frustrating lines, though, like when you see this, because it feels like White should have some like real major advantage, but I
Yeah.
always find that it's kind of hard to always come
Yeah,
up with a good plan.
it's
So I'm
not
interested
easy.
to see what Lenderman came up
So
with. here.
F3, and then, well, there's a lot of moves once again. I think knight C6 is what people usually do. Here we had C7, C6, king to H1, knight B to D7, bishop G5. Oh, well, that's a good old line that, was.
And this is why we have the king on h1 for whenever the queen comes to
Yeah,
b6.
Knight b3, a5, queen d2, a4, bishop e3 intermediate, queen back to d8, knight to d4, knight c5, fd1.
Sure.
And then one of those positions, once again, the engine is merciless. It always says white's much better,
Yeah,
white's
white
much
has
better.
more
but,
space. You have all the pieces on the board.
but kind of winning this one, like proving why exactly are you better, is quite challenging. Knight f to d7, and then this is a famous trick, like you put the bishop on e5, looks like it's not very stable there, but whenever you provoke f4, then e4 pawn is win.
Very nice.
Well, that was my theory.
Does happen,
but
though.
f4 was played, and then bishop f3. So he's not impressed, right? Queen a5, b4, e5, and white just won. It feels like knight c. Wait a second. So that's a trick. That's a trick, Jonathan. e5. So blocks the diagonal. And then he can play knight c2, so the knight on c3 is not hanging.
Okay, no sweat. Queen's going
And
to go somewhere.
Queen
Queen,
somewhere,
I guess
well,
I no longer want to move. After I've considered all my options of where I can move my queen, I no longer want
so
to
that's
move
the
this black.
thing. Like you only have
This is
two,
very nice. This
two
is very
spots,
clever.
two spots in this somewhere, and he chose the b6
either
somewhere,
one
and
is-
it's still and
either
still
one b4.
b4
Ah.
takes bishop c5. Well, technically, I would go and say that black would have some compensation if he'd be a little bit better coordinated, right? Because it's technically, for the moment, it's even 3 pawns for a piece.
Yeah,
But
sounds
yeah,
fair
that's
on
kind of
paper.
the bishop is still here, and white has more tempi, white has more initiative, so it's knight e4, knight d6, and it's not about material, it's not about
just
those pawns, but
The coordination of all the pieces, it's beautiful.
so white is like really much faster.
And it keeps getting better.
Okay, so c5, self-pinning, 6, queen a3, bishop f5. Yeah, I mean if you have to play bishop f5, because this bishop will be taken, and this is really bishop to c6.
Yep,
It's a
nice
beautiful
little
finish.
tactic.
Beautiful finish here, and bishop e5, and he played bishop e5 and
then resigned after making his move,
But
and
that's
He lost the will to play after he made his move.
that's already a loss.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent result for Lenderman. He's on 2.5 now. He's doing very well in this tournament.
All right,
Which is
and
really
then
nice to see. What else is going on?
once again, a similar situation. So A group starts with a couple of draws, and B
Yeah.
group starts with with
A
a
lot
couple
more
of people
decisive action
crushing
in the B
each
group.
other.
It's the right rating range. It's about that 25-50 rating range where you still see quite a lot of decisive results. And I guess
Yeah.
at what point, like actually at what random, if I forced you to pick just one rating level where you would expect like over 50-60% of games to
Kinda
like, be a
people
draw
start
or
to-
just...
People start
When
to
do you just make a draw every single
kinda,
game?
respect each other way too much.
Is that what it is?
yeah?
Is it just that they are respecting each other? Because they could still play something wild, make it really
Absolutely.
complicated, and get
Absolutely.
wins. But like, why does
I
it
don't
happen?
know. I don't know. Well, yeah, partially kind of the answer to this problem could be that these guys, 2650 to 27, they don't have that many tournaments when they're playing each round against such, right? So usually
Right.
they would play an open tournament, and then you have like 5 games with a weaker players, let's call it this way.
Yeah, you definitely will have to deal with that at some
and
moment.
2, 3, 4 games against your kind, right? And then,
Yeah.
well, you probably play those for a win as well because it's an open tournament. You
Yeah.
have to score a bunch. But then when you are in a round robin like this, you probably think of safety first, right? I mean,
Right.
it's safety first, and then, okay, if I win a couple, that's nice, but yeah, so there is no intent of crushing everybody. So maybe that's the answer, right? And these guys, 25-50, they might be just as good players, but they have somewhat different mentality. Let's crush everybody. Let's go to 26.
Yes.
Let's go 26.
Of course,
50,
yeah.
and so on.
So, in
So
this
that's
tournament,
my
we got a
theory.
little bit of all. It's actually kind of cool to be able to see both of these kind of perspectives with the A and the B field. And Lenderman, who we just were checking out his game, we actually are going to get to hear him talk about it with an interview right now.
Okay.
Well, that was our attempt at getting Alex Lenderman. We will hopefully get back to you with his interview momentarily. But before we get to that, maybe we can take another look around the horn. Is there anything that has your attention? Is there another game that perhaps we should look at?
Yeah, well,
I think there's still quite a lot we haven't seen at all.
There is still one, Jonathan, in the A group that we didn't touch at all. So one win against Nijat Abasov. Well, pardon me. Is that a technical issue? Because it says, I mean, remember Hans's game.
It's day 3. This is the
3
day
v2
of every
Rook
issue.
Endgame. Yeah,
you know.
3v2 Rook Endgame. Reminder,
Yes.
that's 13 moves played. 13.
We're going to get to
3.
Okay.
13 moves.
In 13 moves. All right.
And it
Wait,
says...
so what time? It says somebody's out of time. Okay, this cannot possibly be true. There
But
must be.
That means like he's on seconds or we've lost connection to the board. I mean, there are two options.
And if that is the case, what will inevitably happen is at some point they'll just be, here's like 20 more moves, and we'll get to see them.
could
They'll
be.
all come in a bunch. But
The
we can at
position,
least-
though.
we can at least check this part out and we can see
The
what's
position,
happened
though,
so far.
So nothing new here yet. So that's
All right.
the Berlin, the good old Berlin defense against the Reed Lopez,
Wonderful.
D3, Bishop C5. And this is the move I'm not really familiar with, which is Knight B to D2. I
Okay.
mean,
It's a move you play at some point, but it is kind of weird to see it so
I
early.
bet it does exist, right? It's not like it's not an actual novelty.
If not, we have a novelty here.
Right, so black goes Knight D4, Bishop
You know,
to A4.
you told me it was a Berlin like a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is, we got something new here. We at least got something interesting.
So I want to say with the Knight on C3, it'd be, no, once again, it won't be anything. Because there is this line in 4 knights, right? It's a 4 knights opening, Bishop B5, and then they go Knight D4 and something similar happens. But okay, anyway. This one is just a good position for black. Okay,
D5,
let me...
D5, let's
D5,
go.
yeah, Knight takes, Bishop takes. C3, Bishop to B6, E takes D5,
And this is where we're thinking there's a transmission error.
No,
no.
Yeah,
We have moves here. We
Why
have
I'm pausing is that black could take on D5. There is no
Seems
problem,
incredibly
but
natural.
he just goes Bishop G4 castle. Says I'm not
You know, take your pawn later.
not in rush whatsoever.
And not at all worried that
H3.
C4 will protect the pawn. You know, sometimes when my pawns are protected, I just say, what would happen if I protect my pawn?
However, the next move could be, a problem in transmission because it says G3.
Okay, you think maybe it was
And
G4?
Yeah, like G4 I can believe. And like other than G4 you probably find
G3
like
is a bit strange.
5-6 better moves than
And
G2,
this
G3.
actually is the kind of thing that might cause one of these errors in transmission. Maybe he meant G4, but the computer registered it as G3, and then the subsequent moves didn't make any sense, and the computer gave up. And when that happens, the arbiter or somebody that's working the machine will put them in manually, which just means we will still get all of the moves correct. It might just take us a little bit of time. So we're imagining maybe G4 was happened, maybe Bishop to G6. I don't know. Let me just play. I'll just guess one more move after that.
Yeah, so I
We'll
guess
leave it there.
G4, Bishop G6 is fair, and
This
then
is maybe what happened in the game. So hopefully we get the result of that at some point. So we are going to try for the Alex Lenderman once again, and let's see if we can hear him this time.
All right, I'm here with Grandmaster Alexander Lenderman, fresh off of his victory against Grandmaster Arman. You know, Alex, tell me how you did it. You know, give me the scoop. You're on 2.5 points now. That's an amazing score. How about you tell me all about your game?
Well, he surprised me on move 1 when, after d4 he played g6. I haven't really seen him do that as of late. I mean, usually he played solid openings like Slav defense or Queen's Gambit accepted. So I was focusing on that, but yeah, he surprised me. I mean, g6 is sort of an attempt to try to play for a win, which I guess because he was started 0-2, he wanted to get some kind of a interesting fight. So I was already not sure which. I mean, there are many directions I can go for, many lines I can choose between. Okay, so I ended up playing King's Indian, and at first I was slightly regretting what I did because I sort of fell into his prep a little bit. Because earlier, like about 1 year ago, I had a game with Bishop f4. But I figured it's in a database, so he probably also prepared for that. So I decided to play a different line. still seemed to know it pretty well, but looks like at some point I surprised him a bit somewhere and got him out of book. And yeah, here I think I had to make an important decision after queen b6, that it was okay to allow a5 followed by a4, because I have this key move bishop e3 pushing his queen back. And so here it's not so easy for him to, because for example, if you played queen b4, thought I can go knight d4, you know, knight e5 and let's say knight c2, and then like for example after this rook b1. So yeah, the tactical lines didn't seem to work, and once he played queen d8, I felt quite good about my position. I thought I've more or less consolidated and should be slightly better, and you know, and then yeah, and then at some point another critical moment was when he played knight c5, I played like this, and then I had to make a decision whether to play f4 or not. f4 is of course a very concrete move based on the idea if bishop takes, I take with the queen and I protect e4, and after bishop g7 I go bishop f3, and if knight f6 I thought I could take on c6, which apparently it's playable for him, but I thought it's good for me. And so yeah, he played queen a5, which I actually anticipated, and I saw that, and I think yeah, here he probably is completely fine had I not had the move e5, which is, the point is if I go knight c2 immediately, he takes on c3, but by playing e5 I disturb his harmony, cut the communication between the bishop and the queen, and after this he has to lose a piece, and so now he has to decide how to lose the piece, and I guess he didn't choose the best way to give it away, although I thought it was pretty logical. And here I already thought I'm doing very well. Like from here on I thought I was better, and maybe he could have defended better, but I think pretty much I think I converted it well, and yeah, I was able to win. Looks like a clean game, so I guess I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, that's always lovely to hear. Thank you for coming on, Alex, and we wish you great luck tomorrow in your next round.
Thank you.
That was Alex Lenderman, who now sits at 2.5 out of 3. A fantastic start for him. Very nice to hear his insights. This e5, knight c2, this little tactic here was very nice, very clever, and happened to help him win that game.
All right, Jonathan. So 2.5 for him, 2.5 for Christopher Yu, but we
Yes.
had 2 people on 2 out of 2. Let's
Yes,
find out
what is going on there.
any one of those will continue this 100% streak.
It's not so easy to do. Around day 3, you should start seeing things drop off, but every now and then, someone makes a big run. Do we have somebody running?
Wow, that's a very, very messy position for
Yeah, let's pull this one up here.
Kadric and Jacobson.
Yeah, what is happening here? So
Yeah, believe it or not, it was, well, with some transposition, it was Jacobson, the quiet game.
Of course, we got to get at least
turned
one per day.
Yeah, turned to be not so quiet. And Kadric did play it in the first round, I guess, Bishop G5 and so on, right? It wasn't. It was a slightly different. So Black didn't have D6 and Black went with Bishop E7. But all I'm saying, he is known to develop his bishop before playing Knight D2, castles, and Black. Well, I've honestly never
You weren't
understood
expecting
this
castles
one. Like,
after you
I mean,
see
if you go
H6,
H6, G5 already, I mean, what's the point castling? But yeah, Black does it from time to time. A3, King H8. King H8 is logical because you want to eventually go F7, F5, and I believe that's what was done at some point. Knight H7, King H1, F5. Whoa, that's a complex game. B5. Everyone takes everybody. I don't know what's going on. So takes on B7, Queen D2, some checks on long diagonal, I suspect. No, Rook E1, Knight E5. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Knight E5 cannot be taken, of course. Bishop C5, Bishop D5. Getting lost. Queen D5 this time.
All right, attacking.
Okay,
the
attacking
rook.
this guy.
And also maybe on that F7 as well.
And wow,
But let's see. Okay.
that's so interesting. I mean, okay, A4. You know what?
Very solid.
I actually care about my pawns. I mean, no, because it felt like he's going for some all-out, right?
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
waiting to see the punch here.
And then A4, yeah, okay,
He
just in
wound all the
case.
way up. I was waiting to see the haymaker, but
H5, knight F7, traded everything H4.
Right.
Now the bishop
yeah, tell me where this bishop goes.
The bishop looks trapped, right?
It does. Tell me why I'm not trapped, please.
There is this move which he might have hoped for. No, he actually gone for something else. And it would perfectly work because both bishops are hanging.
Yeah.
But I guess bishop d3 is what you don't like here.
Yeah.
Because it
Rook D1
attacks
is not
the
a
rook,
solution.
and it's kind of rook d1 you would think, but both bishops are still hanging, but this one is not, in fact,
there's
because
back
there
rank
is
issues,
there is
so
a
you
back
can't really
rank.
take that guy.
I don't know, but who knows? Maybe he has everything planned because he
I hope he had a plan, otherwise he lost the bishop.
with rook e7. So now I suspect that no, I don't suspect anything. Never mind.
Yeah, what's happening?
No, I thought like
What do you think's gonna happen?
takes at least
Yeah, it
kind
looks
of
like an obvious idea.
the f file opens and maybe white gets somewhere, which is not guaranteed after bishop d3. But the worst of it is that bishop still has nowhere to go.
Yeah,
So
what
black
the heck?
can still kind of play
Holy
some
cow.
move. I don't know what move he's going to play.
So
but
our tournament
say knight
leader-
f6 or something. Our tournament leader is in quite a bit of a trouble with white, it would seem.
Or he's about to be the biggest genius you've ever seen. Because he's really playing with fire, though. If he doesn't have anything,
that's a crazy
it's just weird to
position.
see this if he doesn't have something.
I'm so
Like,
tempted.
He saw the bishop getting
I'm so
trapped.
tempted to press this button.
Oh no! Don't hit the button. All right,
he's in trouble. He's in
saw
trouble.
the answer, and I feel very confident in saying that Brandon Jacobson is absolutely winning. So it looks like the bishop just got trapped. How? He saw the bishop getting trapped a mile away. Like it's not like he didn't see it.
Yeah, I think like a4, the move that surprised us. Maybe it wasn't the best move because, yeah, h5.
But here, is there like anything else? Does White need to do something different here? Did his bishop just get trapped?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, well, actually,
Or
like
does-
you seemingly can play h3 at the very least, right? Like h4, bishop goes, and maybe you drop a pawn or something.
I'm very confused. So he thought he had something. Or
Yeah,
I
so
don't
he
know.
probably was relying on this trick with bishop e5, or
then
now that
worked
I'm
out later
thinking,
that it doesn't
now
quite
that I'm
work.
thinking, even kind of rook e5 is a funny move because you attack this guy and the rook
Yeah.
is not hanging, and you also attack this guy because. Say if bishop just goes away,
Right, which is
then,
funny,
then you
it's-
actually take.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That's crazy, but
Wild
perhaps
stuff.
something's wrong about this line as well, since he didn't go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So he must
Okay.
have thought he had something, which is
That's a crazy game. That's a
weird,
crazy
weird.
game where.
From the guy leading it all, this is not something you would expect to see.
And wait a sec, we've got one more result. We've got one more
All right,
result.
what else has happened?
Gergely just won, pardon
Oh,
me.
okay.
That's what I have.
All right. Well, let's check
That's
this one
what
out.
I have. So white has won in this one that
All right,
we've
taking down Akshat Chandra. Let's see. How did it happen?
We've seen something. Yeah, well, that's
Yes, okay.
Semi-Tarash fake
Hey,
Grunfeld
and you know,
thing.
this is the one we were like, hey, maybe somebody will actually get an attack and win a game.
Yeah, well,
Let's see if it
that's what
actually got.
happened.
Let's see if that's what
So
happened.
knight to b5. Yeah, the knight can't be taken because the rook on c2 is hanging, but white trades, and yeah, well, perhaps that's kind of making the entire circle with the knight, right? That kind of knight c3, b5, c7, d5. It is time consuming, I want to say,
Yeah.
right? And the achievement that he only traded a pair of rooks, which white could not bring to attack anyway, perhaps wasn't the best. Because now, after rook g3,
Okay.
already the computer is not very happy with black's position. g6 allows bishop takes g6, and
wow.
yeah, that's bad. That's
All
bad.
right.
It's still it was still possible to fight
What's our greatest threat here?
with bishop c8 as computers. Our greatest threat, funny enough, is knight to g7 to attack h6 pawn,
okay, that's how
and
you get
d6
access
pawn
to-
with
to
the knight.
H pawn. Wow.
Yeah, so
okay.
that's what the board does after bishop c8, for
Yeah, knight
instance.
G7, very strong move.
Queen e7 was played hoping for white to take, and then he would block with the queen, but then once
Imagine
again,
knight
funny knight g7.
This is the move. That's the move, and he found it.
G7, and he found it, and it led to an immediate resignation because he
Wonderful,
can't really do anything.
A very nice attacking idea to be aware of. This blocking of the queen and the
Knight
H pawn.
G7, yeah,
And he had to maybe see this when he went in for this sacrifice on G6.
Exactly. After this check, yeah, well, perhaps everything's winning, but I mean, if you want to finish in style,
Oh,
maybe
that's
you
nice
can do
too.
this
We
because
blocked your queen, now we block your rook, and the queen is coming
You're
in
threatening
there.
two
Wow, very
checkmates.
nice. Impossible to stop.
Anyway, so yesterday we've seen, well, how many that was? When we were leaving, it was 3 wins with black, right?
Yeah.
In the
So,
B
yeah,
group. So
Black-
now we have 3
Black has
wins
been
with
winning
white
quite a
and
lot.
not a single draw yet.
Wow, all right. And we actually are going to be able to hear from Ganguly himself. He'll be able to give us a little bit of insights into this game with an interview. Sorry, we will be having Gergely Kantor giving us this interview right now.
All right, I am here with Grandmaster Kantor, fresh off his win against Grandmaster Akshat Chandra. Tell me all about your win. Break it down for me, and just give me all the information, man.
Okay, so this was round 3. In the first 2 rounds, I didn't really get the results I could have or wanted. So now I was like really hungry for a win, and that's why I played, I think, a quite aggressive, dynamic game. So my opponent used to play the scimitar rush in the past, and he did play the scimitar rush now as well. So this is basically d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, c5. We played here the main line, take on d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight c, bc, cd, cd, bishop b4, bishop d2, take, castle, bishop c4, b6, knight d7, castle b6, rook a d1, bishop b7, rook fe1, and here the main move is rook c8. After bishop b3, I prepared a little bit, so that's like the main theory. But he played here knight f6, which kinda was a little bit surprise to me, because that's not what they play here mostly. And here I was thinking a lot. One of my ideas was to play here d5 immediately, and the thing is that he has to take d5, ed, queen d6 was the move I imagined, because if Black plays this line with rook c8, bishop b3, and after knight f6, then I know d5, ed is better for white. But I think the difference here that black can play queen d6. And let's say I play something like knight h4. He can, for example, play just g6 or something. That's not much. So I should... go back. I just... Oh, okay. So here knight d4 is a critical move, I think. And here... I wasn't sure whether queen c5 is working for him. Maybe it's not. Okay, so my calculation here wasn't best. Knight f5 here does work. Okay. Anyway, so after knight d4, he plays probably g6 as well, and it's normal position for him. Anyway, I played queen f4 after a lot of thinking, which was also like a very reasonable move. Bishop c8, rook c8, and here rook d3. So that's... I thought that I could use this because now the main line, if you started rook c8, my bishop is already, it has to go to b3. But now it might be better on d3 because of kingside attacks. He played queen c7. Here queen h4 looked like a decent move as well, but I played e5. And he played here h6. Okay, so probably black is absolutely fine here. I didn't play the most accurate moves in opening, but still I think my position is like I do have tactical chances. I played h4. He played knight d5, queen e4, and knight f6. So he wanted to make a draw, and yeah, so we repeated once, but after that I went to queen g4. Like I really wasn't interested to making a draw, even though I felt like black should be fine here. He played knight c3. First of all, I thought rook c1 is logical here, but then I thought maybe rook d2 and I can protect the a2 pawn and the d4 pawn also because of, let's say bishop h6 checks with the little, so he cannot really take on d4 with queen. And here my opponent, I think, didn't play quite accurately. So here, I don't know what was like. Maybe bishop d5 would have been a strong move, and but I don't know that whether I should play here a3. Then bishop d5 definitely a good move for him, or I have time for knight h2, but then maybe he can take on a2 with the knight, and I do have some compensation with knight f1, knight g3, but it's a better version than what happened in the game. Maybe I play just a3, but then black is fine, so I should have just sacrificed my pawn. Anyway, he played rook f8, which I was thinking a little bit of mistake, because actually, because the d4 pawn is not weak, and he should have skipped the rook on f8, because then f5, he has f5 ideas later on. Now I played knight h2, which was a very good move, and here my opponent was thinking for a lot, and it was clear that he didn't really came up with a plan, and it's also not so easy for him. He played queen e7, and I played knight f1. There were other options like rook e3, for example, but then maybe knight d5, rook g3, and he has f5, probably. or rook c1. But okay, queen h5 was also an interesting option with the rook takes c4, bishop h7. But okay, queen b4. The computer says that here white doesn't really have any attack. But in the game, practical game, this does look like, I think, a dangerous attack. But probably it's not. Anyway, I played knight f1 because what was the most accurate move. And here he just played king h8. I played knight g3. Honestly, it's surprising for me that the engine still says like black is very fine here and like nothing is there. In a game, here I was already quite optimistic with knight h5 and every kind of move. So I'm definitely optimistic here. I was calculating knight d5 for a while, but then maybe I have queen e4, knight h5. But I was like that he has to come back with the knight at some point because otherwise I have all the squares with my knight on f4 or f6 later on. He played here rook c7 and knight h5. And queen f8. And yeah, here rook e3 was my initial option, initial idea, but then I came up with the idea that maybe rook c2 is like a trickier move. The thing is that he will go back knight d5 and I take on c7 later on, and then I will play rook e3, and it felt like to me that it's better to exchange these two rooks, because then he will have only one rook in the end to defend against kingside attacks. So here actually, yeah, I was thinking maybe knight d5. I wasn't sure whether queen e4 works. Anyway, knight d5. Okay, so computer just says that I can take on c7, which has happened in the game, but this was probably a mistake for him. That was what he should have played. And then rook e3, knight d5, take on c7, rook g3, and maybe he has here g6. It's always a question whether he has g6 or not, because in the game I believe I sacrificed on g6 and I think it was winning, but here maybe it's not winning. Let's say he probably has here some move. Not so clear, but probably it's not winning. I mean, okay. Okay, so here he played knight b5. I took on c7. Okay, so rook takes d4. I have knight f4 and knight c7, knight g6, for example. So that's bad. He took back. And then, yeah, rook e3. I think it's wrong move, and he played knight d5. And that was the most interesting thing, that rook g3 and g6. And here, yeah, I took on g6, which, since my opponent was in a very low on time, I believe it was a nice practical decision. Although any move here is like good for me at this position. But I like this move a lot. So here, yeah, I believe queen g8 and knight e7 was the two moves I calculated. Queen g8, I have knight g7, I think, which is... Well, I have everything else also. Knight e7 is the good move, and then queen takes c6. Yeah, and I was like, let's say he plays something like knight f5. I have always knight f4. That's one of the important tricks. He plays bishop d5. I have queen g4, and I think I'm just better. Bishop c8. I have queen c4 probably. But that's what he should have played. He played here queen e7, and I believe, and yeah, he resolved after knight g7, which was just game over immediately. Queen e7 he played it with like 1 second or something. So he played this move because he was in a deep time trouble. And knight g7 is just game over.
Well, obviously, that's a great way to play your last round. Obviously, going in with 50%, I bet you're feeling pretty good right now. Obviously, we hope to see you back in the studio in another time. And
yeah, me too. I can play games after I would like to come to the studio. winning positions, like that's the most important, that's the hardest thing for me usually.
Obviously, sometimes it can be like that. We'll wish you good luck in the later rounds.
Thank you.
That was Gergely Kantor on his win over Akshat Chandra. He came into the day with half a point out of 2. He had at some moment the opportunity to get some repetition and just take a draw, but he took his opportunity, he played for an attack, and he was able to win a beautiful game.
Yeah. You know what, Jonathan? Not only this one win Abasov game was kind of fixed, and
okay,
now
yeah, we saw at some moment the machine registered G3, but clearly it was G4 that was played. I'm assuming it wasn't.
Yeah,
was G4 the actual move?
G4 was played, and moreover, the game is finished already.
Oh,
and
all right. Give us all the moves at once.
Yeah. It happens to be won by.
We had to wait for our Christmas presents, but we can have them all at once.
Yeah, so G4 instead, and knight takes E5, rook
makes a lot more
E8,
sense.
and D4. So black, in fact, sacrificed 2 pawns, right? Okay. One can be taken, but he decided. He decided to win back this one. Bishop F4, Bishop G3, up a pawn. King's position slightly weakened, but not really. Queen f6, and this might have been a mistake. I mean, queen f6, because d6 and then bishop d5 if the pawn's taken. So black went rook d8, bishop d5 anyways. And you probably have to part with one of the, one of the rooks for the bishop, because if you move away, it's dc7, and that's perhaps too much. Yeah, so rook takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and two exchanges down.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there are some like bishops attacking the king.
We're gonna figure out which piece is better.
Wait a second. So seriously, that's the move.
Last time the g pawn moved, it was a technical glitch. Is this one a technical glitch? What is g5?
So now honestly, now I'm cheating, of course, because g5 happens to be the only move to win.
What?
And yes,
that's
because
incredible.
he is threatening like queen f4 or queen e5 to get to g3.
Okay.
And because this f2 pawn is pinned, he'll be threatening, well,
he
at
has
the
to-
very
he
least a
has to
perpetual.
distract this queen,
Right,
huh?
so he somehow
Holy cow.
has to get a square from,
there's
from
a
which
tactic
he
for you.
protects
Holy
g3. Right, so g5 is amazing, and
Very
then
nice.
like if I go as planned, queen f4 or
always
queen
have
e5,
queen
there'll
g4,
be
I
there'll be
guess.
queen
Wow.
g4.
Hanging
Right,
in there.
black went queen e5, queen
Very
g4, g6, but then that gives white the opportunity to just bring stuff in, and I guess like rook d. Okay, he captured. I guess rook d5 would have been fine, possibly. Whatever.
Sure.
Rook e3.
I can sack exchanges too.
Yeah, that's what they say. Like the advantage of two bishops. One part of the advantage of two bishops that you can trade. Right? How about two extra exchanges? You
Yes.
can
I can always give one
return
back.
one back. Yeah. And here, well, black was fighting, of course, but it happened to be queens traded.
Gets the queens
three takes, and
You
once
can
again he
have-
always
take one.
speculates.
Please,
take
please,
one, please.
Just one. You can have one.
And he won.
All right, and he was able to win this one.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay.
So
And I
this
believe
is
if
it.
we can actually take a look at the win game, the Van Nguyen game, I believe we have some sort of update.
But that's the one. That's the one. 1 win against Abasov.
All right, and I believe we actually do have the winner, so we're going to be able to hear to
all
Van
right.
Nguyen and get his
All
kind
right,
of
so
insight on
let's
this
ask
very
about his
interesting game.
G5,
Maybe, maybe he'll tell us about it. Let's hear it.
All right, I am with Grandmaster Nguyen right after his victory. Tell me all about your victory and, break it down for the people, Tell us all about it.
All right, so today I played my good friend Nijat Abasov, and I kind of expected the Berlin, but I didn't have any special idea because it's like almost impossible these days, right? So I played knight bd2, which is kind of a sideline, and the idea was that after the main move knight to d4, I prepared bishop a4, and here the main move is short castle. After which I would have played castle as well. And here's, it's a quiet position, but I had some small ideas there. Nijat played b5 instead, which is quite a fighting move. I was not prepared here, but I knew that it was slightly inferior to castle and I should have a small edge, so I played bishop b3. And here I think the normal way to play is d6. Probably I would play knight 6 d4, bishop d4, maybe a4 or castle. And it looks, or c3, I mean, it looks reasonable for white. Probably a small edge, looks a bit like Arkhangelsk, Marshall, whatever. But he played d5, which shocked me, actually. But I could not really refute it. I think what I played was reasonable. Knight 6 d4 is kind of a safe option. Here, e takes d4 was a possibility, but I think I have e5, knight g4, and short castle. And his knight on g4 is a bit misplaced. If long term, if you can consolidate his center with c6, then my bishop is a bit dead, but the thing is concrete. There's knight of 3 h3 coming, so I think I should have an edge. So I played bishop takes d4 instead. I played c3, bishop b6, and here I spent like 30 minutes thinking, maybe 40 minutes, because it felt to me like he's okay suddenly after a very strange play. Like I could play short castle, but then bishop g4, queen e1, and de4. I could not refute this position, knight e4, queen d3. And I think it's okay for him. So I played e takes d5 instead. I was not very happy, to be honest, because bishop g4, knight f3. Here I thought queen d6 was maybe interesting. I don't know. Obviously the computer disagrees. I was gonna play short castle a4. But it's a very sharp position. Like this pin is like forever unless I go h3, g4, and then my king is weak, and I have almost no time on move 13. So it would have been very tough, practically speaking. But he played short castle, which I was happy to see, because now I can break the pin immediately by playing h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, knight takes e5. And yeah, well, we're transforming into a position where I'm a pawn up. So after 17 rook takes e5, I played bishop f4, which is normal, rook e4, bishop g3, and here I just didn't see his compensation, because although my king is a bit weakened, his pieces are not coordinating, and I have the threat d6, which came. He played 19, queen f6, d6, and it's just very bad for him, because if c takes d6, bishop d5, I mean, he can sack the exchange and get the light square bishop, but I'll just move my king somewhere and go f3, and he just has no real compensation. So he went rook d8 instead, move 20, and then I played bishop d5. Rook takes d6, I was very surprised to see. Bishop d6, cd6, because he sacrifices 2 exchanges, right? But here, at first I was almost gonna play king g2 already, and then, okay, he can still play after rook f4, f3, h5. It was not so easy yet, because my king is permanently weak. But then I just noticed that I can play bishop takes e4, and here only move g5. Because if not for g5, he'll go queen f4, and I might get mated. So yeah, but g5 just kills the game. He goes queen e5, queen g4, and I'm 2 exchanges up. And now it's just a matter of technique. Okay, I mean, we played some moves, and yeah, on move 30, after h4, b4 was his last try to open up the position and kind of weaken my king. But I think rook f1, 31 was very precise to just sort of keep everything under control, and bishop takes e3 never works because he's the one getting mated. So b takes e3, b takes e3, king h6. Yeah, he's offering the queen trade after queen g5, a g5, king g5. But it's like not so clear because his bishops are guarding everything. He'll come with a king, play f5, g5. So I didn't want to give him this endgame, so I played c4 instead, move 33, and I think it was very strong, because now I threaten rook takes e4, and I don't give him the c3 pawn. So he went queen e5 to keep it a bit more complicated, but now I can just remove my rook e1, and c3 is no longer hanging, and he has immediate issues with the bishop on e4. So he went bishop c7, but now it's just very bad, because queen g5, I'm trading queens, and after king takes g5, I can go f3 and just collect on d5, and then I'm just an exchange up in the endgame, and the king is cut off on the e-file, so it's just resignable. Later I came with the king to the queen side, and he just resigned.
Well, obviously that's a great way to play the 3rd round. 2 draws and 1 win going into your 4th round. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. So far I've had I had 2 rather easy black games against strong opponents, so that was very nice. And today I actually didn't expect to really win, because he's so solid, and when I saw the Berlin I was a bit disappointed, but in the end it was great, and yeah, looking forward to my tomorrow's game.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing it. Good luck in the next round, man.
Thanks.
That was Dai Van Nguyen on a big win that brings him all the way up to 2 out of 3 points, mentioning there at the very end that he was a little bit worried about it being a Berlin, but it wasn't just your ordinary, boring Grandmaster Berlin. We saw some real exciting stuff. We saw 2 exchange sacrifices, and then g5, which I could have sworn was some sort of technical glitch or some sort of big mistake. No, it was in fact the best and only move. So fantastic stuff there.
Okay, Jonathan, getting more results. Illia Nyzhnyk actually saves this. I don't know how problematic it was, but he was in the end.
A look here.
Remember, the end game pawn down opposite colored bishops. Well, it took him some time, in fact, because white perhaps was put in some problems there. But eventually they finished in a draw. Well, bishop e5. Wait a second, check. King e7, b3, a4. This is
really
clever.
Wants to trade those rooks
This is clever, because h2 pawn is still hanging, so you're gonna take over here bishop
Very nice.
h2, and then
It is
what
a
did
light
he
square
do?
promotion
Bishop
square.
b1. Yeah, and that's beautiful. I mean,
Ah.
I mean, you could
Yeah,
go
oh,
there
very
as well
funny.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
guard the g7 pawn with the bishop, but he just highlights that, yeah, it is a fortress.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a fortress.
I'm
and
going
then-
to sacrifice my bishop. And
yeah,
just,
I just
you'll
moved up
never,
bishop
never,
b6.
never.
He even went bishop b6 for a stalemate. Yeah, so that's a funny finish.
Very
yeah.
nice finish there. Wonderful stalemate to cap that one off. And,
So-
were there any other results that we've missed?
No, we still have one game.
All right.
We
What is
still have
going
one
on?
game. Yeah. Well, the one that there was rook endgame. Remember that very fast, and we were thinking, yeah, draw. And I said
Sure.
that grandmasters always make draw.
Yeah, of course. There's no possible way.
So
Hans Niemann, you're not going to
Hans-
tell me.
Hans is still playing, of course. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, he's up a pawn after
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
So Hans Niemann is
Is
still
your
playing.
evaluation changed at all?
No,
You know,
no,
we were going
no,
with
no. I'm
0%
going
chance
0%
Hans will not
chance.
win this game.
Yeah.
All right.
That's exactly my assessment. But we have one more result, as far as I understand,
All right, what
in
else do
the
we have?
B group. So let me see. B group, the round's done.
Okay.
How many draws was in the B group today?
B group. We had
None, you know.
none.
Yeah,
Zero
yeah,
draws
zeros. Yeah,
every
yeah,
single game.
absolutely.
Holy cow!
Every
I mean,
single game. So
it's no longer just a joke that they're playing more decisive games. They're really proving it here.
yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
wonderful
They've
to see.
proven it. And the last, I guess, last to finish was Kadric.
And right, and I
And
also
he
have
did-
word that we have Brandon Jacobson, who actually will be able to lead us through his
yeah.
game against the coming into this round, the tournament leader, Denis Kadric, who had a perfect score. Let's hear it from Brandon.
All right, I'm here with Brandon Jacobson, fresh off his win against Denis Kadric. Brandon, take me through your game, show me all the sauce and how it all happened.
Sure, yeah. So going into the game, I mean, I just had a really tough loss with White the day before. So I was looking forward to a fighting game at least to try to get some, I don't know, get something interesting at least. So yeah, I knew he was mostly an Italian player, and I was pretty happy to see Bishop G5 because this leads to some crazy complications, and at least I'll get a chance to fight. So yeah, he was blitzing in the opening, and then he surprised me with A3. I mean, I'm sure it's a move. I honestly didn't prepare this too well, but I knew some of the general ideas. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense intuitively. Like, the idea is just to play a quick B4, B5, and then break with D4. So I spent a long time here trying to figure out what to play after A3. I considered a lot of different ideas, even something like Rook B8 to try to mate B4 with B5. And then, I mean, there are tons of options for White. Like, even something like A4 here is kind of funny because, I mean, you get something similar to what I've analyzed, at least, with the Rook on B8 versus A8. And I was trying to work out all these little differences. But I decided to just go for King H8, pretty kind of principled, just trying to go Knight H7 and a quick F5. But then he continues blitzing B4, Knight H7, King H1. And here I have a lot of options. And I spent a long time trying to calculate it all. I'm not really sure I made the right decision. My first instinct was to just go Queen F6 and sort of wait. But the problem here was I thought he can go D4. And okay, this leads to some crazy complications. If I take on D4, then I thought he can just take back and sack the pawn. And I think this looks really dangerous for black. Like if he takes twice in D4 and goes Rook C1 even, something like this just felt pretty dangerous for me. Also, if I don't take on D4 and I go G4, I was even considering something like B5 here. And after G takes F3, just taking back, sort of these kinds of piece sacks, and it looked extremely dangerous for me because he's taking on E5 next, then he's taking on D6, he gets 3 pawns, and my king is weak. So I was trying to make sense of all these lines. But then I decided to just trust my instincts and go with F5. But then he continues blitzing and takes on F5 and goes D4. And here I started getting pretty concerned because, I mean, the problem for me is, like, it's hard to even find a move because, okay, I mean, I can win the pawn, like I took on D4, but in the end, like, my extra pawn doesn't mean that much for now, and my king is always going to be super weak in the long term, even if I'm not getting mated right away. So I did take on D4, B5, and yeah, I was calculating so many different lines here. I was even trying to make something like D takes C3, B takes C6, B5 work. Okay, I see now the computer actually likes it, but I mean, in a real game, it seems impossible to actually make these sort of decisions. In the game, I went for something greedy. I just took on D2 and took the extra pawn. And yeah, I mean, I figured I'm probably in some trouble here, but at least he'll have to prove something. And honestly, I can find a better approach. And yeah, here I think he started going a bit wrong. I think he played a bit too fast here. He played rook AE1, which is logical, of course, but I think that sort of misses the point of the position. Knight d4 is definitely what I was afraid of because, okay, sure, he's not winning the pawn back right away, but like, I'm pretty sure I have to take and go queen f6, for example. And I mean, with my weak dark squares, I feel like okay, I guess knight f6 is probably better. But with the dark squares here, long term, I mean, he's just going to get the bishop back into the game with f3 and bishop f2. And it feels really dangerous for me. So yeah, after rook a1, I got in queen f6. It started to feel a bit more comfortable for me. Of course, it's still extremely dangerous with my king super weak, but I started to feel better about my chances here, and he started burning a lot of time, which, because I mean, at this point, I only had 20 minutes left, and he still had pretty much all his time. So when he started thinking, I felt a lot better about my position. So he goes for knight e5, bishop c5. Yeah, and here it feels like white should have some way of improving his position, but it's actually not easy to see at all because, yeah, okay, so he starts with bishop d5. I mean, he repeats once. He goes queen d5, rook b2, and yeah, I mean, this feels good for white, like all your pieces are in the game, but it's really not easy to figure out how to continue here. And if it's my move, I'm just going to go something like bishop b6 and queen g7 and start consolidating. So, I mean, I think he started panicking a bit too much here, and he played a4, which felt a bit too slow. In the game, I was much more concerned about knight c6. And yeah, I was going to go something like bishop b6. I expected like knight e7, let's say. And like, I can play something like queen d4. I'm sort of still in the game, but I don't know. I mean, it feels like at minimum white can trade and take on f5 and go rook e7 in a lot of lines. And he still has the initiative for sure. But I think after a4, here I started to consolidate. And again, he was already getting a bit low on time here because the position is so wild, it's kind of hard to make these decisions. So yeah, I went for h5 when we were low on time. And okay, yeah, I mean, I see now the computer hates it, but in the game I wasn't really sure like what was going on. I mean, the only real try for white here seemed to be f4, and after g4, bishop h4. And I assume this is what he was calculating, but it gets to a total mess after queen takes h4, knight f7, king g7, queen takes f5, something I can throw in g3, I guess, can't hurt. And then I thought I could maybe survive this with something like queen f6. Yeah, okay. And I guess the position is still messy. I see the computer is changing its mind about whether I'm lost or I'm still in the game, but at least I thought this was worth a try when he was getting low on time. And I think he spent all his time trying to calculate these complications and just sort of panicked and played knight f7 at the last moment. What I'm assuming he missed was after take h4. I assume his idea was to go bishop e5, and maybe he forgot about some details like take bishop d3, for example, and then bishop d6, and all of my pieces, like all my pieces are well defended there, and he has back rank issues still. So yeah, as a last ditch effort, he went for rook e7, but after knight f6, yeah, h3, take bishop e4. He just resigned here, kind of a nice finish because rook takes f6, bishop takes g2, and these bishops speak for themselves. So was a nice finish.
Obviously, we love a good, nice bishop that speaks for itself. 50% going into the next round. White pieces against Alexander Lenderman. How are you feeling about your game tomorrow?
Feeling a lot better after this game. Obviously not the best technique, but it always feels nice to get a win, especially after a tough loss. So hopefully I'll keep the momentum going.
Obviously. Well, good luck tomorrow, man. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
That was Brandon Jacobson. A very complicated game, but at some moment, he just kind of won a bishop. Perhaps there was some time pressure issues that were going on, but it was always nice to see. And that'll bring him up to a 50% score. And we're not quite done yet. All of the games have wrapped up for the moment. And you may have seen Hans Niemann walking around in the background. That game did end in a draw. I'm starting to think that maybe Hans is trying to duck all of our interviews. Like he doesn't care about our ratings.
Absolutely.
It's kind of ridiculous. When he does win a game, though, we will definitely get an interview with him. And we actually do have one last interview with you. And this is going to be Raunak Sadhwani, who is the tournament leader for the B section. So it'll be fascinating to hear what he has to say about his game.
I am with Grandmaster Sadhwani, fresh off of his win against Grandmaster Tigran. Grandmaster Sadhwani, you are +3 right now. You are absolutely killing it right now. tell us all about this game and tell us all about how it's going.
Yeah, so let's start. So I played c4. He played some e6, knight c3, d5, d4, knight f6, cd5, ed5, bishop g5, c6, e3, h6, bishop h4. I never checked this bishop d6. It always felt like white will have at least plus equal or something. It felt comfortable. So I played bishop d3, castle, knight e2, rook e8, queen c2. I was also in many lines intending to go h3, g4 and castle long, but he just played a5, so after that it's tough to do it. Played h3, knight a6, a3, knight c7. I was planning to castle long, but then he can just play b5 and he's just too fast. So that's why I just played short castle. Knight e6, f3. This white's main plan in this opening. You try for e4 as soon as possible. So he plays bishop e7, play rook a d1, trying to get e4. He played b5, which was a strong move. This is how black usually plays in this line. Played bishop f2. He played bishop a6, played knight g3. So my idea here was to get the knight here, but I see the engine doesn't really like it. But still, practically, I feel it's a complicated game. So bishop f8, I played knight f5. In many lines, my idea was to go bishop h4. It's not possible on the next move because of g6. So I was trying to prepare it. He played b4, bishop a6, rook a6, knight a4. Here he cannot really take this pawn with the bishop because of queen d3, and it's a double attack. So he played g6, which makes sense, but at the same time he also weakens his dark squares. So knight g3, queen b8, e4. To be honest, this engine evaluation is surprising me because I thought it should be very easy to play with white and white should have at least slightly better, but seems like black is very solid. Okay, this was not a great move. I was expecting knight d7 just to get rid of e5, and I thought it's still a game. So he played rook c8. I went e5, and here of course he should go knight e8 to have more protection on the f7 pawn. In many lines he can do this and protect it, but instead what he did was really dangerous, and also it allowed me a lot of initiative. I played f4. He took bishop e3, knight e6, queen f2, knight d8, e6, takes, queen c2. If queen g3, my idea was rook f3, and if just I was considering if queen h4, you just take and this king is completely gone. So I was expecting king h7, and now I go knight h5 with some ideas of knight f4 and knight f6 as well. Played bishop g7, only move. I take, go knight c5. If he would have taken knight c5, here I can just go bishop f4 or queen c5. Both should win. So rook a7, I just go bishop f4, queen a8, queen f2, king h7. Here I thought for quite some time because I was trying to find a finish, like direct concrete finish, but I couldn't find one. So I just thought I'll do it in the simple way. Just take the pawn, knight f8, knight g5, bishop g5. This queen and this rook, they are doing nothing, so it takes a lot of time for him to get back. Now I go bishop e7, knight e6, rook f7, knight g7, rook e1, rook g8, rook e5, threatening rook h5, king h8, queen f6. Now again threatening rook h5, gh5, queen h6 mate. So he goes king h7 and rook g5. And this is how I won my game. And it was a great fight. And I'm happy with my performance so far and with my play. Looking forward to 6 more games.
Obviously. And you got Christopher Yu tomorrow with the black pieces.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that matchup?
I'm feeling confident for now with 2 good games, I would say. And I hope everything goes well tomorrow as well.
Well, we hope so too. We hope to see you back soon and good luck.
See you. Good luck.
Jonathan, sorry to interrupt you.
Go for it.
What's your feeling after this interview?
Well, it sounds like
Uh,
we have.
I find this young gentleman to
me.
be a very scary man. He's on 3 out of 3, and he
Yes.
says, "I'm looking towards
Yeah.
next 6 games." I mean,
Yeah,
what do you
he played
expect?
2 good games in a row. He's got 3
Yeah.
points on the board.
3 out of 3, 2 good games in a row, and he's like casually says, "I'm looking." Basically, to win 6 more, right? I mean, that's the
But
point.
yeah. Our B group actually had 2 people coming in here today in the lead with 2 out of 2. Raunak Sadhwani, who we just saw that interview with, now he's on 3 out of 3. The other leader, Denis Kadric, has fallen back, and this gives us a wonderful opportunity to kind of recap everything and see where everybody stands. So let's go ahead and check out how we're looking on the standings now in the A group. Well, at the top of the leaderboard, we have Vidit and the sole lead with 2.5, and at 2 points, Illia Nyzhnyk and Van Nguyen. Both of them are doing an excellent tournament. Van Nguyen with a big win today. Then at 1.5, we got Yangyi, Hans Niemann, Grigoriy Oparin, and Nijat Abasov. And after that, on 1 point, we got Aram Hakobyan, Nikolas Theodorou. And getting on the board today was Surya Ganguly. So good to see everybody now with at least some points. So tell me, Miro, what's going on in the B group?
Well, in the B group, as you mentioned, Raunak is the sole leader, well pursued by Christopher Yu and Alex Lenderman, who are tied for the second with 2.5. Denis Kadric has lost his on clear 4th position with 2 out of 3. While Gergely Kantor, Brandon Jacobson on 50%, 1 point for Tigran Harutyunyan, and Arman Mikaelyan still
Early in the
0 out
tournament,
of 3.
still
Yeah,
looking to
well,
try to get on the board. But I think this was actually one of the more exciting days. We saw a
Oh,
lot
well,
of
that was-
exciting,
that was-
really
yeah,
incredible
that's
stuff. So a huge thank you to everybody that's been staying with us. We see you on Twitch. We see you on YouTube. When we're signing off for the day, this was wonderful, and I hope you guys come back because things only get more and more exciting, especially as we go along. So join us again at 4 p.m. tomorrow, and we will see you for another exciting round of the Fall Chess Classic.
yeah, see you people. Join tomorrow, please.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.